Emma the asshole for ghosting my date after the sleeping with her. Hi, I'm Reed, 22 male. So I was dating Marie, 21 female. She's pretty and funny and overall seems like a nice girl. So I saw it going far. I only date with the intention of long-term relation. So after the second date, we went to my residence and there we had wine and all, watched some movies and slept together. We had a good time and she seems to enjoy it well. But after that night, she kept making the joke of how small I am down there and started as a joke but literally kept on it. Then she moved on to tell how she had much bigger ones and dated guys much taller than I am. I wasn't insecure about it and left it off every time. But this is disrespect and I knew I'm not gonna put up with it. So after I dropped her home, I didn't show much interest for the third date, while she was sure of it. I slowly started ghosting until one day she came to my house and when I told her I'm not that interested in her anymore and the reason for it, she got all teary and started shouting that I just wanted to sleep with her. She bashed out of the door, slamming it behind. Well, I'm writing just few hours after this, and I know what I did and stand strongly with it. But still a thought lingers if what I did was right or I overreact. Am I the asshole for kicking my brother out after he sold something of mine without asking? So me, 25 female, and my brother, 28 male, have always been okay, but right now we're not speaking, and my family is saying I overreacted. Basically, he was staying with me for a while, cause he was in between jobs and needed a place to crash. I wasn't even asking him to pay rent, just to be respectful and not treat my place like a hotel. Spoiler, he did not. He would leave dishes everywhere, come back late drunk, bring random people over without asking, and just act like it was his place instead of mine. I had multiple talks with him about it, but nothing changed. Then last week, I noticed my AirPods Max were missing. I always keep them on my desk, so I asked him if he saw them. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I saw them. I needed some quick cash. I was gonna tell you." Like, bro, it was my stuff. And they were almost new. He didn't even act like it was a big deal. I told him straight up he had 24 hours to pack his stuff and leave. And I wasn't joking. He left, but now my parents are saying I was being too harsh and should have given him more time to figure things out. Like, am I crazy? He stole from me and sold my stuff. Am I the asshole for kicking him out immediately? Am I the asshole for kicking my sister and her newborn out because she keeps calling my dog dirty? So, my sister, 32 female, just had a baby and needed a place to stay for a few months. I agreed because, family. The one issue, I have a golden retriever, Max, who is my baby. Oh, it's so sweet. He's well groomed, trained, and literally the sweetest dog ever. From the second she moved in, she started making snide comments about how dirty he is, saying things like, "Dogs don't belong inside, especially near a newborn. He covered in germs. I don't want my baby getting sick. Can you lock him in a room when we're in the living room?" I tried to compromise by keeping him out of the nursery, but that wasn't enough. She wanted me to keep him out of the house entirely. She even went as far as spraying disinfectant on my couch where he sleeps. The final straw, I caught her kicking Max away with her foot. Oh my god! When he came near the baby's playmat, I lost it. I told her if she has such a problem with my dirty dog, she can find another place to stay. She freaked out, called me heartless for prioritizing a dog over her and the baby, and left crying. Now my parents are furious, saying I should have been more accommodating. So am I the asshole for kicking my sister out over this? Am I the asshole for refusing to switch seats on a plane with a guy that was fake crying and saying, "I need this seat today"? So, I, 22 male, recently took a flight home after visiting some friends. I booked my seat months in advance, a nice window seat, because I like to put my music on and just vibe. I mean, who doesn't? I get on the plane and there's already a guy, probably mid-30s, sitting in my seat. I politely tell him that he's in the wrong spot. He looks up and just goes, "Oh yeah, I was hoping you'd switch with me. I have a middle seat like 5 rows back." I tell him, "Yeah, no thanks. I picked this seat for a reason. He sighs super dramatically and goes, "Come on, man, have a heart." I just shake my head and say, "Sorry, but I'm sitting in the seat I paid for." At this point, he starts to tell me every bad thing that has happened in his life. Because clearly he wasn't that sad of a person but wanted to seem like one. And then he starts crying, like loud, over the top sobs. Oh my god, what a drama queen. The lady next to him looks super uncomfortable. The flight attendant comes over to ask what's going on, and before I can even say anything, he goes, "Is there no humanity left on you, asshole?" I explain the situation, and the flight attendant just stares at him and goes, "Sir, please move." Dude gets up all huffy and said, "Wow, some people are just heartless." Then he dramatically walks off to his middle seat. I thought that was the end of it, but when I landed, he stood up, looked me straight in the eyes, and said, "I hope you have a terrible life." So, am I the asshole for not switching seats? Am I the asshole for refusing to give my coworker a ride after she kept making fun of my car? So I, 34 male, had this older car, nothing fancy, but it runs fine and gets me where I need to go. I take care of it, do regular maintenance, and honestly, I don't see the point in spending money on a new car when this one works perfectly fine. The only thing is it's a little well loved. Some faded paint, a few scratches, but nothing major. Enter my coworker Liana, 28 female. She's made little comments here and there about my car, calling it vintage in a way that doesn't sound like a compliment, joking that it looks like it belongs in a junkyard, and once even asking if I was saving up for a real car. I usually just ignore it because whatever, some people are just like that. Last week, she had car trouble and asked around the office if anyone could give her a ride home. I was literally the only one going in her direction, so she asked me. I just shrugged and said sorry, but I wouldn't want to subject her to my embarrassing junkyard car. She got all flustered and said she was just joking before and she didn't actually think my car was that bad. I just said, "Nah, I'd hate to ruin your reputation by having you seen in it." She ended up getting an Uber, and later a mutual coworker told me I was being petty and should just let it go. But I don't know, why should I go out of my way to help someone who constantly make fun of something that's literally none of her business? I'm not an asshole here, am I? Am I the asshole for telling my sister the truth about why I moved out so young? I, 27 female, have a younger half sister, Emma, 17 female. We share the same mom but different dads. Our mom had me when she was really young and struggled a lot. By the time Emma was born, she was in a much more stable marriage, so Emma had a totally different upbringing that I did. I moved out at 18 and was pretty much on my own from that point. I worked multiple jobs to pay for school and rent, while Emma has always had my mom and her dad's full support. Paid extracurriculars, a car at 16, and they even covering her college tuition. I don't resent her for it, but it does make it hard for her to understand my perspective sometimes. A few days ago, I was at my mom's house visiting, and Emma made a comment about how I choose to move out early and how she didn't get why I wasn't around more often. She said it like I just wanted to leave and be distant. I told her that it wasn't exactly a choice, that once I turned 18, I was pretty much expected to figure things out on my own. Our mom and her husband were focused on their own lives and supporting her, and I had to become independent a lot sooner. Emma got really quiet and later told my mom what I said. Now my mom is upset, saying I made it sound like she abandoned me, when in reality she was just young and struggling. She said I should let the past go instead of making Emma feel guilty over things she had no control over. I wasn't trying to make Emma feel bad, just explain why our experiences were different. But now I'm wondering, am I the asshole for saying anything at all? Am I the asshole for telling my brother it's his own fault? So, I, 27 male, have a younger brother, Jonas, 24 male, who has never really faced consequences for his actions. Our parents always bailed him out, no matter what he did. Now, years later, it's catching up to him, and I might not have reacted very sympathetically. Jonas has a girlfriend, Lisa, 23 female, who he's been with for 3 years. She's a great person, smart, kind. I always liked her and thought they were a good match, until a few weeks ago. I had noticed before that Jonas wasn't always completely honest. He had a habit of twisting the truth to make himself look better, and sometimes he straight up lied. Nothing extreme, but some little things, calling in sick to work when he just wanted a lazy day, exaggerating stories to make himself the hero, or blaming others when he messed up. I would not call it little things, actually. Then, 2 weeks ago, Lisa called me. She was clearly upset and asked me if I knew anything about Jonas borrowing money from people. I was confused because, as far as I knew, Jonas wasn't struggling financially. She told me he had asked her for 500 euro, saying he needed it for car repairs. That wasn't unusual. His car was old. But then she found out he had asked one of the mutual friends for money for the same reason. Lisa confronted him and he got defensive, then admitted he had been gambling online. He had lost way more money than he could afford and was desperate to cover it up. She was furious, not just because of the money, but because he had lied to her repeatedly. When I saw Jonas a few days later, he was miserable. Lisa had broken up with him, and some of his friends had cut him off. He complained to me about how unfair it was, how Lisa overreacted, and how everyone was abandoning him over one mistake. That's when I lost my patience. I told him it wasn't just one mistake, it was years of lying, blaming others, and never taking responsibility. I said Lisa should leave him because she deserves better, and if his friends don't trust him anymore, that's his fault, not theirs. Jonas got really quiet and then just walked away. Later, my mom called me furious. She said Jonas was devastated and that I should have been supportive instead of kicking him while he's down. She thinks I should apologize, but I don't see why. Am I the asshole for deliberately pretending to forget my dad's birthday and leaving him to spend it alone? My 44 female dad, 73 male, has never remembered my birthday. It was slightly covered up when I was a child because my mom always remembered, but a couple of times when she wasn't around, it fell to him and he totally failed. For example, I got nothing on my 18th birthday because my mom was away for 3 months. My sister, 46 female, had a party with friends, a new dress and lovely gifts when she turned 18. Every year it's the same. My two siblings, I also have a much younger brother, aren't great at this kind of thing. But I always remind them it's Dad's birthday so they can send him a card and a call. Since my mom passed a decade ago, I usually take him out to dinner and give him a gift so he's not alone. A couple of times I've thrown him a surprise party, and for his 70th I threw a big event where his extended family flew in. I always point out to him when he has forgotten mine. I've told him I find it very hurtful. He just shakes it off and says it isn't important, even so I just told him it was important to me. And then he forgets it again. Every year. This year at Christmas, he was talking about something relevant, so I took the opportunity to tell him that he needs to make the effort. Then I asked him when I was born. He couldn't even come up with the year. He mocked me for being sensitive, and inside, I just let it all go. He has a phenomenal memory. It's ludicrous that he won't do this for me. I don't even want a gift, so I won't lie, it would be nice. Just a happy birthday call or a card. Well, his 73rd birthday just rolled round. I didn't remind my siblings about it, so they both forgot. He rang me the day before. I knew why, but I chatted about random things and then said I had to run and quickly ended the call. On his birthday, I turned off my phone and went out. He rang me the next day and said that no one remembered his birthday, not even a card or a phone call, and he spent it alone. I guarantee that's a first. I told him he had made it abundantly clear that birthdays were not important and that he was reaping what he'd sowed. He grumpily agreed with me, but he's still mad. I'm sorry his feeling got hurt, because I do love him, but I think this is the way it's going to be from now on. Unless he steps up and gets me flowers, a kitten, and some Turkish delight for my 45s, in which case we're all good. And I don't neglect him. I order his groceries every week and bring him round to dinner every Monday. And this is a blind spot for him. He's honestly a nice man and can be very generous when it occurs to him. Am I the asshole for not forgiving my ex-fiance for his drunken slip up before our wedding? I called off my wedding. My fiance and I have been together for 5 years and we were supposed to get married in just 2 weeks. Everything was planned, like the venue, the dress, the guests flying in from out of town. I was so excited to start our lives together. Then his bachelor party happened. I wasn't the type to put strict rules on bachelorette parties. I trusted him. His best man organized a weekend getaway in Vegas with his close friends. I figured it would be the usual drinking, partying, and dumb stories I'd heard about later. Instead, when he came home, he acted off, avoiding eye contact, being extra affectionate, like he was trying to make up for something. My gut told me something was wrong. I asked him if anything happened, and at first he said no. But after a few days of me pressing him, he finally admitted that he had slept with a stripper at his party. He claimed he was blacked out drunk and didn't mean to cheat. His exact words were, "It wasn't intentional. I barely remember it happening. The guys told me she came onto me and I was too drunk to stop it." I was horrified. He cheated on me, and instead of taking full responsibility, he blamed the alcohol and the situation. His friends backed him up, saying it was just a stupid mistake, it meant nothing, and that a lot of guys messed up and their bachelor party. Even my future mother-in-law told me to consider forgiving him because it was a one-time thing and doesn't define your relationship. But I can't just brush this off. This wasn't a minor mistake. I feel this was betrayal. If this is how he acts when he's drunk and surrounded by bad influences, what's stopping it from happening again? Marriage is supposed to be about trust, and now I don't know if I can ever trust him the same way. I told him the wedding was off. He broke down, begged me to reconsider, and swore it would never happen again. He even offered to go to therapy or do whatever it took to prove he was sorry. But to me, the damage was done. I just want to know if am I the asshole for not forgiving my fiance for his drunken slip up before our wedding and declined to move on. And we have an update. Yes, I officially called off the wedding and ended my engagement. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, but I know deep down it was the right one. Despite all the guilt tripping from his friends and family, I refused to marry someone who cheated on me right before our wedding, drunk or not. After I told him it was over, he spiraled. He kept begging, sending long texts about how much he loved me, how he'd do anything to fix things. His mom even called me multiple times, pleading with me to think of the 5 years we spent together and not throw everything away over one mistake. I held my ground. Then things took a turn. 2 hours ago, one of his friends reached out to me privately and told me the real story, and turns out my ex wasn't exactly blacked out like he claimed. Apparently, he was fully aware of what he was doing and even bragged about it. The next morning, he told his friends, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas," and laughed about it. It wasn't until he got home and saw how guilty he felt, or maybe just fear getting caught, that he started spinning the "I was too drunk to remember" narrative. Finding that out shattered any lingering doubt I had. He didn't just cheat, he lied to my face multiple times and expected me to marry him anyway. This aftermath was messy for me. I had to deal with canceling vendors, informing guests, and losing a lot of money on the wedding plans. As for me, it's been a rough week, but I'm healing. I will stay in my friend's apartment this evening until I find a place to move. I have not finished getting all my things on his place because I don't want to see his lying face. Also, I don't want to move back into my parents' place because I'm very embarrassed to them. I did cut off contact with my ex and now will focus on rebuilding my life without him. It's painful, but I know I made the right choice. Sometimes I think that maybe I'm so blind not knowing this side of him after being with him for 5 years. In my opinion, girl, you dodged the bullet. The big, big bullet. Am I the asshole for telling my brother's fiance the real reason he won't let her invite her family to their wedding? My 29 male brother, 32 male, is engaged to his fiance, 30 female, and their wedding is in a few months. Everything was going fine until she mentioned wanting to invite her side of the family. My brother immediately shut it down, saying it would ruin the wedding. She was devastated. And how exactly it would ruin the wedding? For context, her family is lower income, and she's the only one in her family who went to college and built a successful career. Our family is pretty well off, and my brother has always been obsessed with keeping up appearances. I thought he was just being shallow, but then I found out the real reason. A few weeks ago at a family gathering, I overheard my brother talking to our parents. He admitted he doesn't want her family at the wedding because they're embarrassing and look like they came from a trailer park. He even joked that her dad looks like he crawled out of a Walmart clearance bin. Oh my god. I was disgusted. His fiancée later asked me if I knew why he was so against inviting her family. I tried to dodge the question, but she was genuinely heartbroken and kept pressing me. I finally told her the truth. She went silent, thanked me, and left. Now everything has exploded. She confronted him, called him classist, and is considering calling off the wedding. My brother is furious and says I ruined his life by meddling. Our parents are on his side, saying I should have kept my mouth shut. I feel like she had the right to know, but now I'm wondering, am I the asshole for telling her? Absolutely not. Husband states, I should have just done it because he had a bad day. My husband had a stressful day. He got passed up for a promotion. But we were together all day. I talked to him in length about it, reassured him he was more than qualified and ready for the promotion, told him how he deserves it, offered him hugs multiple times, suggested he go do something he enjoys, and I would take the kids. He declined my hugs and declined to go anywhere. He was on and off the phone most of the day. I didn't ask him to do anything with the house and kids, except I get a migraine and needed to lay down till meds kicked in, which was 30 minutes. I knew he was stressed, so I just let him be. End of the day, I'm exhausted. I expressed this to him and we went to bed. I said good night and he said, "Are we doing to have it?" I said no, I was exhausted. He said, "Okay, well, can you play with me?" I said I really wasn't in the mood and again exhausted. He turned over and just said, "Okay." Mind you, we have had it 3 times in the last 2 days. He eventually says in a nasty tone, "You know I had a stressful day. I thought this was the least you could do for me. Even if you're not in the mood or don't want to, I figured you would realize I needed the stress relief and do it anyway. It's always your needs over mine." Oh my god. Turned into a huge argument. Later he goes on to repeat himself and say, "As my wife you should want to do something that would make me happy." I see his point of view that marriage is about sacrificing your own needs sometimes. Could I have just done what he asked from the beginning? Sure. But I was honestly cringing at the idea of doing something I wasn't into. And would it be enjoyable if that's the case? Probably not. Am I just seeing this differently and my husband is right to think this way? How would you feel? Am I the asshole for telling my brother's girlfriend she's weird? I, 19th female, and my twin brother have what I would consider a normal brother-sister relationship. We both still live at home with our parents and have similar hobbies. We're not attached at the hip or anything like that, but when both chilling at home, We'll often play video games together or do something we both enjoy. For example, we both like those intricate Lego sets and we'll help each other build them and stuff while we just chat. But we have separate lives and do different things too. My brother now has a girlfriend, which is great. I'm happy for him. I myself have a boyfriend who I've been with for the last year or so. My brother have been with his girlfriend for the last couple of months. Whenever my boyfriend comes over, my brother is kind to him, and they really get along. So they become friends, which is nice. But when me and my boyfriend will go and do things, it's not like my brother is some third wheel in my relationship. Like I said, we have separate lives, but it's nice that my boyfriend and him get along. And I love to do the same with his girlfriend, but she just doesn't like me. I try, but I get nothing from her. And it's not a case of her being shy or anything. There is tension there for some reason. I can feel it, so I try to push it aside and be nice to her. It's very clear she has no interest in being my friend or even talking to me. She turned up at our house yesterday. My brother wasn't actually expecting her on anything, but he invited her in. We were in the middle of a game thing that wouldn't take much longer. So he said, I'll just finish this with this and then we can go chill or do something. She rolled her eyes slightly and sat down on the sofa next to him in the living room while we finished up doing this two-player thing. When we were done, like not even 10 minutes later, he handed me the other controller and she side-eyed me and said, finally. So I just decided to say something. I'll literally write how the conversation went. Me. Do you have some kind of problem with me? She. No. Seems like you do. Why did you side-eye then? And why are you always so weird with me? Her. You two are always together. It's weird. Me. Looks at my brothers and back at her. We're actually not. Believe it or not, we have our own lives. Her. Always seems like you're together all the time. My brother at her, uncomfortable with this interaction. Babe? Me. He's my brother. We live in the same house. Laughs. Her. Gets annoyed that I left. Whatever, it's weird. And me. No, you're weird. Turns away to boot up another game to play myself. Her storms off upstairs and my brother follows her. I didn't see them for another few hours, then they went out. He stayed at her place at night. Today he came home, and I wouldn't say he was annoyed at me, but he let me know that his girlfriend was upset that I called her weird, and feels like she can't come over here anymore. Which is really dramatic, to be honest. I explained to him that she is weird, for whenever weird problem she seems to have with me and him, I asked him, do you ever see my boyfriend getting weird about you and me? He said no, and that I have a point. I told him she treats me like I'm some kind of threat, and that is weird. I've been nothing but nice to her, and she gives me nothing back. He said he'd noticed that. I told him his relationships are none of my business, but she is weird for the way she is with me. But I told him I'd be willing to talk to her, or maybe he should, to see why she's like this. I don't know what her problem is. So, will I be the asshole in this situation?